have there. So I'll pass you over to Chris, and I'll hopefully chat to you later on at the end of the presentation. Thanks, Chris.
Okay, thanks, Michael. Good afternoon, everyone, and thanks for dropping by for this webinar. My name is Chris Nugent. I'm the Head of School of Computing on the Georgetown campus at Ulster University. What I hope to do in this session is give you all an overview, just an insight into what we are as a school and what computing is and what the subjects involve. And hopefully we can get through that in about 20 minutes, and then or 25 minutes, and then we can take some time at the end to go through any questions, which I'm sure you all have some questions or some queries about the courses or how they may be delivered. So as Michael said, please use the Q&A feature in Zoom. We can pick those up at the very end. So if my connection fades or if my audio dips out, if somebody could be so kind as to just drop a message and tell me that you can't hear me anymore, that would be helpful. Can I just test if everybody could drop a quick message? Can you see my slides okay, and can you hear me okay? If a few of you,
it's all looking good.
Okay,
yeah.
Okay,
perfect.
okay. So I just to kick off then, really, and we think about computing. The discipline of computing has really changed over the last 10 or 15 years, and really that's a result of the digital era that we now live in. So technology is everywhere around us. It's on our phones, it's in our cars, it's in our homes, it's in our infrastructure, and we really live and die by having access to Wi-Fi, social media, all of these things. So why there's a lot of devices and hardware and electronics involved in all of these solutions that we're available with, behind that and what drives them is really the use of computing and the development of software applications. So it has changed quite a lot as a discipline to study it at university. And I want to show you how or what that looks like, and some of the example areas that you may be involved in if you do embark on a journey in computing. So if we look at some quite unusual areas that you may not think about for the use of computing, just to give you an idea of some of the applications. So sports is a big area now where computing and software development is really prevalent. And this can be how athletes are tracked, for example, in a tennis game or a football or a rugby game. How monitoring of the impact in contact sports, rehabilitation techniques, all types of areas which are quite obscure and you maybe wouldn't think about have a role for computing and development of software applications. Automotive industry is another example, which is really making use and utilizing and leveraging the power of computing and software development. So we have autonomous cars. I don't know, some of you may have collision avoidance on your own cars or your parents' cars that start to beep if you come too close to something whenever you're parking or another car in traffic. Navigation or GPS. Detecting if you're going to fall asleep. So all of these applications that we've become quite familiar with are largely driven again by computing. And just a third and final example, just to give you a sort of a flavour of where computing could be used, is in the area of healthcare. So lots of opportunities to analyse data, to visualise data, and really help the process of healthcare professionals undertake their duty in a more efficient and more timely manner. And something which is obviously quite important is the current situation that we've all found ourselves in at the moment with the coronavirus. I don't know if any of you are tracking or follow the statistics or look at any of the data analytics that are being undertaken, but this is just an example from Johns Hopkins University how the coronavirus is being tracked at a global level. Various trends can be monitored and can be visualized, and lots of data feeds can be taken from different sources at a global level and a national level. So again, just to put things in more current context, you can see here some examples of where computing can be very important in our day-to-day lives. And I think at times we take this very much for granted and don't appreciate how much it is being utilized and the actual power that it can bring to our general society and our general lives. So the sorts of skills or the sorts of roles that you might find yourself in after studying computing is much broader than being badged as someone who can write software, who can write computer programs. So I've just dropped a few words there, a few roles on the screen. Working in security, development of algorithms, managing databases, working in AI, working in human-computer interaction, how devices interact with users, simulation models, and that relates to maybe some of the more recent work that's been undertaken to predict the trends and the outbreak of coronavirus. So lots of, what I really want to emphasize here is lots of different areas beyond the core element of programming that you can venture in if you do embark on a journey of computing. And I think that's something which has changed quite a lot over the last 10 or 15 years. Now, as a subject, computing probably in the past was thought to be maybe quite dull, maybe quite anorak, maybe something that wasn't very exciting, but really that has totally changed. Computing is a very vibrant, very contemporary, very cool discipline to be in. Lots and lots of companies, and I'll come to that in a second, lots of opportunities from an employment perspective. And really the environment or the perception, this is maybe what you think it used to be like, and just lots and lots of people sitting in front of screens and writing software. It has very much changed to these very cool, very contemporary environments. Lots of flexibility in the development of solutions, lots of remote working opportunities, which actually has suited the IT industry very well over the past 2 or 3 months. I think we've all been equipped reasonably well to work from home during lockdown during this period, but not the sort of traditional view or the stereotypical view that you may have had of a typical environment of a computer scientist post-graduation. So the opportunities, and this is always very interesting and very important to know. So if you were to study computing, what would your career opportunities be? And I've just focused here on Northern Ireland. So in Northern Ireland, there's over 900 companies which focus or have opportunities in the IT sector. And all of the companies would tell us that they have more employment opportunities than both of the universities in Northern Ireland produce in terms of the number of graduates. So that's a very positive and a very healthy sector, and indeed that's grown year on year. Northern Ireland is based for over 100 international IT companies like IBM, Intel, Sept, CyberSource, lots of other sort of players that are involved in IT like Deloitte, PwC, City and Allstate. These are big employers and take a lot of graduates both from Ulster and Queen's at the end of each academic year. And just to finish off in terms of the career opportunities or impact, it's always interesting to look at the profile of salaries across various disciplines. And you maybe can't see the graph very well on the right of your screen, but I'll just highlight here computer science. So this is a graph which shows the median annual earnings 5 years post-graduation. So you can see here that Towards the bottom of the graph, the salary increases, and computing, I would say, is in the top quartile, the top 25% of high paid positions 5 years post graduation. So lots of opportunities for employment, and that's always something very, very important, regardless of which discipline or which course or which subject that you want to study, just to look ahead and see what your career opportunities or what's there or what's provided for you. So why just the change over level? Why would you consider, or what is interesting from studying computing at Ulster University's perspective? So I want to give you a bit of a whirlwind tour of the School of Computing and the courses that we have and how we are actually structured, to give you an insight of what it would be like if you joined us as an undergraduate student to study computing at the university. So this is quite a busy slide, but there's quite a lot that I would like to sort of highlight here in terms of how we organise ourselves in the School of Computing at Ulster University. So we have a number of undergraduate courses that I'll talk to you about in a second, and we have 2 master's opportunities in Internet of Things and Artificial Intelligence. And that's mainly our teaching provision within the school. Our currency of our material and our currency of knowledge within the school and the currency of the skills of academic staff who would be teaching you within the school are underpinned by activities related to academic research. And we have 2 themes of academic research in the School of Computing, one in the area of artificial intelligence and one in the area of pervasive computing. And pervasive computing, if you're not familiar with that term, relates to connection of sensorized devices and the processing of information that can be collected from those devices. And you may have heard of the term Internet of Things, so it's an interchangeable term with Internet of Things. So we are underpinned by these 2 strong themes in research, and the sort of pink boxes to the right of the screen are 2 innovation centres that we currently have centred in our department. One is with British Telecom and focuses on data analytics in the area of telecommunications and also cybersecurity. And the centre CHIC or CHIC is our Connected Health Innovation Centre. And this is a joint centre with the School of Engineering at the university and focuses on the development of both engineering and software solutions within the healthcare industry in Northern Ireland. And somewhere in the middle, you can see in the slide the word globalisation. The university and the faculties and the schools are all very keen to promote opportunities where we can engage with international students. And this gives us an opportunity to have a more vibrant and a more dynamic environment for our teaching. And we can see students both locally to Northern Ireland, to the UK, to Europe, and further afield. So we have 3 quite important partnerships in the School of Computing at the moment. The first one, you can see QA on the slides. It's an organisation based in London that we deliver a part-time course in partnership with. And just above that is HKU Space. So that's a university in Hong Kong. We partner with that university to jointly deliver our 2 master's courses. And to the right of that is the logo of a university, SUST, Shanxi University of Science and Technology in Xi'an in China. And we have the joint delivery of a degree course in China. And at the moment, we have just under 300 students have registered for that from the faculty. So that's the structure of our school and our research and our link with the local industry here in Northern Ireland. So maybe more particularly, and I don't know if you've taken some time to look at these courses or if you already have a clear idea of what you may or you may not want to engage in. We have 4 full-time undergraduate courses in the school, computing science and software engineering. So those 2 courses are tightly coupled together. Software engineering is a pathway through computing science. So it's a more specialized route through the traditional computing science course. We have an undergraduate course in computing technologies, which focuses on, I would say, the systems view of computing and the architectural view of computing. And our final full-time course is in interactive computing. So this is obviously more engaged in the development of the user experience, user interfaces, how humans and machines can be put together and how that interaction can be improved. So we've 4 full-time undergraduate courses, and we have 1 part-time course which runs on Mondays, 1 day a week. So if it was your preference to study 1 day a week and then to work for 4 days a week, and there are a number of companies within Northern Ireland which support this, and we work with, I can talk about that at the end of the presentation. If that suits your preferences better, then that could be an interesting option for you to consider. And the logo that you can see towards the bottom of the slide, BCS, this is the British Computing Society. They accredit our courses. So that means they have assessed the content that we deliver. They have assessed the way that we assessed our content, and they have put a rubber stamp of approval on how we teach and how we produce our graduates from the school. And this is really, really important. This is like a passport that you can use or you consider for your degree, that anywhere nationally and in Europe, it carries that very important seal of approval that it has met the standards of the BCS. So we're very proud that we have that accreditation for all of our courses actually within the school. We also have a new option which we did run in the past, and we reintroduced it this year, of an integration foundation year. So this is like a year naught, and completion of the year naught will provide automatic progression to year 1 in computing science. So if it is a stepping stone, or as an alternative, you prefer to take a year to integrate or to onboard onto the topic of computing science, this would be a suitable option, and provides, as I've said, an automatic progression into year 1 of the computing science course. In terms of our school, just some statistics about our school. We're just under 1,000 students, so about 950 students at the moment. We have 44 academic staff, and we have just under 100 research staff. So that's contract research staff that are funded by external grants, and PhD researchers. We are scheduled to relocate to Belfast in 2021. So our first year of delivery in the new campus of all of our courses is currently scheduled for next September. So I don't know if you're familiar with where the campus sits, or if you've noticed the new building, but very, very exciting times for the university to have the opportunity to move into a brand new multi-million-pound campus in the centre of Belfast. 2 other statistics that are interesting to note: in 2018, the satisfaction of our students studying computer science overall was 87.8%. So we were obviously very, very happy with that. And the university's figures provide or indicate that 94% of graduates are placed in employment within 6 months of graduation. So not only is IT or computing one of the most vibrant and opportunistic sectors in Northern Ireland, the university as a whole prides itself in this figure of 94% employment within 6 months of graduation, which is really great, and again another great factor to take into consideration whenever you're making your career choices. This is just some of our team, some of our teaching staff in the university. I've been in the School of Computing for this is my 21st year. So a lot of these people have been my colleagues for a long time, and a lot of them are my friends. I'm probably very biased in saying this, but I think we have an excellent bunch of staff in the school who do a really, really excellent job with their teaching. Our staff have been recognised for their activities and their skills from both their research and their teaching. And we have over 84% of our staff in the school who have the status of Fellow of the Higher Education Academy, and 3 of those are Senior Fellows. So they're quite difficult and prestigious positions to secure. Just under half of our staff are alumni from the university, so that's always a good figure or a good factor to take into account. So not only have the staff had a good experience while studying at the university, but they've enjoyed their time and they've stayed with us as staff over quite a long period of time. So for me, this is the real key backbone to the school, the expertise of our staff, and the commitment and the skills that they bring to the teaching and the development of the curriculum. So a little bit about our resources. We have 211 workstations in the school. We refresh the hardware every 3 to 4 years. Every year we refresh the software to make sure that all of the current industry requirements that you require will be made available, and you'll leave with the skill set that is necessary for you to be as most attractive to future employers as possible. We have some interesting, you can see in the bottom right hand corner, this is our UX UI lab for the development of our HCI solutions, and on the bottom left hand corner, this is an example of some of the breakout areas that we have to complement our workstations or computer labs. And on the top right corner, this is one of our larger computing labs. I think this lab has around 60 or 62 workstations. So we have large labs to facilitate some of the larger classes in year 1 and year 2. And on the top left hand corner, we have classrooms of up to 30 workstations for smaller provisioning of our teaching activities. So about our courses, we have a common year 1. So regardless of the 4 courses that you may be interested, everybody studies the same year 1. In year 2, break into different strands which are more specialized. In year 3, there's the placement opportunity. I'll talk about that in a second. And then in year 4, again, back into the strands or the pathways, depending on which course that you have selected. And there'll be a number of optional modules that would be or would be made available. I can send through the course structure if anybody is interested, or you can find it on the internet, which can give you more details about what we teach. I just really put this in, and probably the table at the bottom right, to show you the differences between the subjects on the 4 different courses that we offer. So the CSSE, that's our Computing Science Software Engineering, the CT is our Computing Technologies, and the IC is our Interactive Computing. So you can see there quite clearly the differences, and hopefully that gives you a feel in terms of what sort of subjects you would be studying, depending on which of the options that you may wish to select. And in year 4, we have somewhere between 13 to 15 options that you can choose from. We have topics that are aligned with our research in IoT or pervasive computing, artificial intelligence, and data analytics, which are really, really hot topics at the moment. So we had our first graduates leave the school last year who had completed those modules. We have our advanced topics in computing that we would expect to see in the final year of any computing courses. And then year on year we change are quite dynamic to introduce topics that the sector, the IT sector nationally would give some indication that they require some skills from the workforce. And at the moment, our trends in computing have offered 3 modules, one in mobile dev, one in computer vision, and one in the management of big data and infrastructure. It's always interesting to look at a timetable, and I've just grabbed a fairly random timetable here. This was semester 2, actually from last year's academic year. It wouldn't be very different from the timetable from this academic year. A few things to point out. In this version of the timetable, there was no classes scheduled for Friday. So we do try and plan out and link together all of the modules to make it efficient in terms of when you have to be on campus. And we do drop on other activities throughout the week. We have dedicated careers classes throughout years 1, 2, and 4 to help you prepare for placement, to help you prepare for your interviews for your graduate employment. And we have a lab that runs every Wednesday afternoon that you can just drop in and get some help for programming. And we run a series of tech talks every week where we have industrial speakers come along and talk about various issues related to the sector or new developments that they are engaging with. In terms of assessment, I just want to show you 2 or 3 examples here. So we changed 3 years ago. We changed how we conducted our assessment within the school. So we removed, and this is why I think it's important to highlight it. We removed examinations from the assessment of our courses, as we felt that it was very practical and more relevant to assess how all of our students completed the practical work that they were being taught in classes. So generally, the assessment takes the form of a brief or an outline of what is required, and the students will then develop a solution, and they will provide a voiceover of their code and how it actually functions.
The requirements set out in the coursework quite well. I implemented every function correctly, and there's no major errors in the code. Here, I'm running through all 9 functions to show that they work, starting with adding an employee and finishing with quit.
So I'm not too sure if you heard that. The volume was slightly low, but you can see in the top right-hand corner, that's a screencast of how the student has built their assignment, and the submission involves them stepping through the code, running the code to show that it's functional, and at various points they will be asked to describe what has taken place. So that's a year 1 assessment. I'll look at an example for year 2. So this is progressing obviously in terms of complexity. This is linking the computational and algorithmic work with the user interface on mobile phones. So I'll just play this video. It's like 10 seconds again, and you can see that the students just stepping through and talking about what he has developed on this occasion.
6. The phone will vibrate and the sound will play. The vibrate function requires an edit in the manifests file to give the application permission to use the hardware. The current drum number will then be applied to a text view.
So again, the level of complexity progresses throughout the years, and we look at moving from algorithmic work in year 1 to linking that algorithmic work with user interfaces and devices in year 2. And in year 4, as we move into the options, we can look at various cutting edge or emerging technologies. This is actually an assignment from the module that I teach. I'm the module coordinator for the Pervasive Computing module. And here in this assignment, we have asked the students to talk about accelerometer technology and how that could be used from a computing perspective in different applications. So I'll just play 5 or 6 seconds of this submission.
Accelerometers are sensors used to measure acceleration forces of an object. Acceleration is the measurement of the change in velocity, and these forces can either be static or dynamic. Most commonly, measurement is done so on 3 axes, in either meters per second squared or in g-forces.
So you can appreciate here that even the level of the presentation of these pieces of work has sort of progressed as the students go throughout their years on the course. So we have a real breadth of topics that can be studied, and we've moved away from the traditional examination type of assessment to more coursework-based assessment throughout the year, and having a more interactive approach. And the second piece of assessment for this module in pervasive computing, we have a one-to-one sort of interview or assessment, oral assessment with the students for 30 or 40 minutes to just talk through their work. And we find this is much, provides us with, well, both the student and us from an assessment point of view, a better opportunity to understand their understanding and what they have actually produced. So I mentioned that we will move to the Belfast campus in 2021. That's an architectural overview of the campus. The School of Computing will be on level 4. And what we're introducing this year for all new graduates in year 1 in the school is we will be providing them with a laptop as a pilot scheme in the 2021 academic year. And this is really to look at how we can be more dynamic in the use of the teaching spaces when we move to Belfast. So all being well, that pilot will give us good results, and we would hope that we will be able to have this introduction of laptop devices for all of our students year on year moving forward. So just to finish off, a few slides about industrial engagement. I'd mentioned we have tech talks on a weekly basis. All of the courses, all of the full-time undergraduate courses have an industrial placement, which also leads to a diploma upon successful completion of the placement in year 3. We have a dedicated member of academic staff and a dedicated member of admin staff which manage those and help with the preparation of your applications and your CVs. We have scholarships, we have internships that we can work with, again, all of the major players, and we have sponsorship of individual modules, and that can be for the highest mark, it can be for the most exciting piece of coursework, it can be from the highest progression from year 1 to year 2 in module average or overall average. So we do engage as much as possible with the large, and we do have a lot of large multinational corporations in Belfast and Northern Ireland in the IT sector, and we have been working hard as a school to strengthen and to develop those links. I'll show you now, we do have our research partnerships, which just to re-emphasize, that provides the currency of our skills and of our knowledge and of the academic staff that deliver the teaching across the modules. We have a partnership with Kainos. So Kainos is one of the largest software houses in Belfast. It's the top employer of our graduates from our school. But 3 years ago, we signed an agreement with Kainos where they support 20 students every year to come and study with us in the school on a part-time basis. They come to us for 1 day and they work in Kainos for 4 days. And we've extended that with Deloitte and with Allstate, those opportunities this year. So as I said at the beginning of the presentation, if the part-time option is something you're interested in, look out for the Earn as You Learn schemes, and they are managed and delivered through our school as well. And we have the partnerships already set up with a number of the companies here in Belfast. We have our company in engagement, which really helps us with our placement opportunities through our Connected Health Innovation Centre. And we have quite a large innovation centre in partnership with British Telecom that was launched in 2 years ago. And we have around 30 staff and researchers in the School of Computing that are co-located also in British Telecom that work in the area of data analytics and cyber security. So again, this helps to keep the currency of both our staff and the material that we can or that we teach. and also provides opportunities for placement and for graduate employment opportunities. So just to finish off, our website for the university you can find more details for all of the courses if you search for computing. There are more webinars that will be scheduled similar to today's. I would recommend you to join as many of them as you can to try and understand which course may or may not be of interest to you, and the schools and the sort of offerings that are provided. And we have scheduled a number of open days across all of the campuses. My understanding at this point in time is that they will be largely delivered virtually, just until we come out the other side of the current coronavirus pandemic. So in terms of getting in touch, these slides will be made available, so you don't need to take all of these details down, but you can talk with the admissions team about the entry requirements, and you can just contact generally about courses to the study@ulster.ac.uk email address. And just as the last slide, here are my contact details. So please feel free at any time after today to drop me an email or to give me a call and ask any questions at all that you may have about the course or about computing or about how that may or may not be delivered. So that's everything that I wanted to say. I'm sorry, I sort of got lost in all of the discussion. I could talk for hours and hours about the school. I didn't mean to talk for so long. So maybe what I'll do now is I'm just going to stop sharing, and we can move to any questions or any comments that people may have, or if there's anything that I've said that you want to pick up on, or any questions. Yep, now's the time to ask.